Words think you are cunning. Take hold of up to 3 friends and see just how intelligent you genuinely are. The idea is to form interlocking words on the board utilizing lettered tiles. Make sure you agree on a dictionary to utilize in case of a challenge. You place all of the lettered tiles face down in the lid of the box and shuffle them. Draw 7 tiles and place them on the game rack in front of you. Combine 2 or more letters to form a word on the board. Start out the word on the red star square. Remember that slanted words are not allowed. Sum up the amount of score for the word. Draw the same number of tiles that you just played and set them on your rack. Switch turns building words. Bear in mind that fresh words must utilize one of the letters already on the board. Do not utilize words that are always capitalized, abbreviations, or words asking a hyphen or apostrophe. Win the game by accomplishing the highest total score after all of the tiles are utilized. If you've tiles left that you couldn't put on the board, you have to take off the value of each one from your score. Attempt building the words from a spelling list with Scrabble parts. Which word is worth the most points? This activity helps instruct the math used in scoring the game. 2 for the youngsters. Have the family pick 7 letters and see how many words they are able to build with only these letters. This activity parallels a popular spelling activity utilized by teachers for a lot of years. You are able to pull in a lot of points in Scrabble by spelling words with the letter S. Merely teach youngsters to distinguish words that are pluralized by the letter S and construct words with that letter. Make certain that your youngster is praised for correct spelling, and do not feel bad about helping to lead them to more beneficial words. Working collectively with the letters works well when youngsters are learning to spell and read as well. Chapter 2. Clue synopsis. Utilize your brainy deductive skills to work out which suspicious character killed Mr. Body and how and where the murder was perpetrated. Brain power. Get together 3 to 6 players. You then put all 6 colored tokens on the beginning squares marked with the pertinent suspect's name. For instance, the white piece belongs on the Mrs. White square. You position the weapons arbitrarily, 1 in each room. Sort out the 21 cards into 3 piles: room cards, weapon cards, and suspect cards. Then shuffle each pile of cards and put the top one of each kind into the envelope marked solution cards without viewing them. Lay the envelope on the X that is in the middle of the board. Provide each player a pad of detective notes and a pencil. Place the leftover cards together and mix them. Then deal out 1 card at a time face down to every player. Players ought to keep their cards out of the sight of other players. Have each player pick a token. Play starts with Miss Scarlet and carries on to the left. A few tokens might stay idle if there are fewer than 6 players. Roll the die and then move your token that number of spaces along the yellow squares. Pieces might move forward, backwards, or to the side, however not diagonally. You enter or leave a room by traveling through the doorway or utilizing a secret passageway found in the corner rooms. Your turn ends when your token moves into a room, regardless what the die roll was. Make a proposition after entering a room. Move the weapon and suspect into the room your token is in and express your suspiciousness. For instance, if you're in the library, you are able to move Mr. Green and the rope into the room with you and say, "I propose that the crime was committed in the library by Mr. Green with the rope." You then need to prove the proposition true or false. Once a proposition has been made, the player to the proposer's left checks his or her cards. If he or she holds any of the 3 cards, in that case the library, Mr. Green, or the rope, he or she shows one only to the proposer. If the first player to the left does not hold any of the cards, the next player to the left checks his or her cards, and so forth. The proposition is proved false once a card held by a different player is shown. Make an accusation once no player may disprove the proposition. When you've worked out which 3 cards are in the envelope, announce that you're making an accusation and describe which cards you believe they are. Cautiously view the cards in the envelope, making a point no other players can see them. Win the game if your charge is correct. Lay the cards on the table face up. If you're incorrect, however, return the cards to the envelope, and you cannot move any longer. You are able to, however, disprove propositions with the cards in your hand. Chapter 3. Sorry Synopsis. Sorry is a classic board game first popularized in the United States of America in 1934. Go back. Sorry it is derived from the many Pachisi versions, like Parcheesi, and calls for moving 4 colored tokens from the beginning to the end box at the end of the board. Gameplay utilizes cards to regulate the way in which the pieces move, and it is possible to wind up knocking opponent pieces back to the beginning. Therefore the name, Sorry. Pick out the color you want to utilize and place your 4 pawns in the beginning box that matches with your color. You then pick out a card from the deck and move one of your pawns according to the directions. You must choose a pawn that may move the exact number of spaces. For instance, if a pawn is 2 spaces away from home, however you draw a card that tells you to move 3 or more, then you must pick out one of your other pawns. Make the best of slides if they present themselves. You must land exactly on the beginning of the slide in order to utilize it. Make the best of cards that tell you to move backwards by picking out a pawn that is close to the start. Frequently, you are able to play a backwards card and wind up, rather than far from the home, a single move away. Be mindful of the chance to send opponents' pawns back to their beginning. If you pull out a card that would place one of your pawns on the same space as an opponent, you get to move your piece there and move your adversary's pawn to his beginning. Attempt to get your pawns into the safety zone, the last 5 squares nearest to your home, as fast as possible. Since they are immune to pushes being sent back to beginning, you will be able to leave them there till you draw a card that brings them home. Chapter 4. Chinese Checkers Synopsis. If you aren't in the mood for the deep engrossment of chess, and you'd like to play with more than 2 individuals as in regular checkers, then Chinese checkers might be the game for you. This stirring board game, in which you try to move all your pieces into your opponent's region before he can move his into yours, may be played with up to 6 players and learned in a minimal amount of time. Its star-shaped board, colored pieces, and fast-paced play will hold your attention. Pick out at least 1 set of 10 colored checkers, in reality pegs or marbles, that match with the colored area of the board where they are sitting. Put the colored pegs you've picked out in the holes of the triangular region nearest to you, and identify the opposite area of the board in which you'll be trying to move all of your pieces. If there are less than 6 players, remember to play opposite a different player. Flip a coin to determine who will move first off, and then go around to the left. Pick out your first move cautiously. Just as in other strategy-based board games, your beginning move is among the most crucial. It's best to make your initial moves in a way that will allow freedom of movement for the balance of the pieces that are queued up behind it. Move your pieces 1 space at a time, in whatever direction, as long as it's in a line. You can jump other players' pieces if there's a space open after that piece and inside the same line. You are able to likewise jump your own pieces, abiding by the same principle. You might likewise jump multiple times if there are sufficient spaces usable between the pieces, as in a dual jump in checkers. Get all 10 of your pieces into your opposition's triangular region in order to win the game. If you're handy with a ruler and a drill, you are able to make your own Chinese checkers board. Make the base of your Chinese checkers board with a piece of wood that's at any rate 1 inch thick, and that measures 10 inches square. Utilize a measuring tape to measure 5 inches in from each side of the board. This will give you the halfway point of the board. Create a dot with a pencil. Make an equilateral triangle with each side, equaling 8 inches long lightly in pencil. The midpoint dot that you've drawn should be in the middle of the triangle, or about 4.5 inches away from each outside point of the triangle. Substantiate this by measuring after you've penciled in the triangle. Establish a different equilateral triangle of the same size on top of the beginning triangle to form a 6-pointed star. If you consider the beginning triangle being right side up with a point at the crest, then draw the second one inverted with a point at the bottom. Mark the areas in pencil where you'll be establishing holes for the pieces. Begin with the bottom of one of the big triangles you drew and make 13 dots spaced about 3/4 apart. Carry on making dots in rows with each row having one less dot than earlier, till you reach the point of the triangle with only one dot. This is the 13th row. And then do the same with the second large triangle. Tally the dots to make certain you've spaced them correctly. Each point of the star ought to have 10 dots in it. The middle of the board forms a hexagon and ought to have 5 dots on each side. The overall number of dots on the board should come to 121. Attach a half drilling bit to a power drill. Measure 3/8 up from the bottom of the drilling bit and mark the spot with a little piece of electrical tape. This will help you ascertain how deep to drill the holes. Drill a little hole where each dot is placed. Proceed to drill till the electrical tape on the bit is flush with the hole. Then stop and take out the drill from the hole. This should make 3/8 deep holes which will let the marbles ride comfortably without rolling every place on the board. Sandpaper the sides of the board and the holes to smooth away any crude edges. Paint your Chinese checkers board as you like. You might choose to paint each point another color or coat the total board in a clear finish. Purchase marbles that are about 1/2 in diameter. You'll need 60 marbles total, or 6, unlike colored sets of 10 marble each. Chapter 5. Chutes and Ladders Synopsis. Chutes and Ladders is a classic up-and-down board game where participants race to make it to the last square. Up and down chutes and ladders sprang up over 2,000 years ago in the Republic of India as the game Moksha Patamu, where the ups and downs were emblematic of the paths and alternatives of ethical motive. Brought back to Great Britain during the imperial period of the 1800s, it promptly became a classic youngsters' game and has seen a lot of iterations on both sides of the sea. Arguably among the most likable points in the game is its ease. Contrary to other board games, Chutes and Ladders does not let players do anything to hurt other participants, and as a matter of fact does not let players affect other players in any case. The entire game is connoted on the philosophy of haphazardness. In this way, it's approachable for everybody. All the same, some older participants might not be interested in Chutes and Ladders for its lack of skill construction. Take out any pieces from their initial packaging. Each participant receives a representative game piece that ought to be placed just off the side by square one. Once each participant has a game piece, put the spinner in its spot on the game board. Each participant ought to give the spinner a spin. The participant with highest spin gets to go first off, with play carrying on clockwise. On his turn, a participant once more spins the spinner and must then move frontward that many spaces on the game board. The participant might not stop short of his total move and might take the same square as another player. When a participant's piece lands on a square with a ladder moving up, The participant will then move her piece to the square that the ladder associates to. Should a participant land on a square with the top of a slide, the participant must then move his piece to the square at the bottom of that slide. There's no limit to the number of times that a participant might have to travel up or down any given ladder or chute. Once a participant arrives at the last square at the game board, she has won the game. Chapter 6. Game of Life Synopsis. The Game of Life is a Milton Bradley classic. It's a board game that's been loved by millions of individuals since the 60s. Nowadays, the game is played in 20 different languages and lets players learn about the assorted stages of life as they collect skills in risk-taking, finance, and decision-making. If you are seeking a game for a rainy day or something to do at a party, this is a winner. Life Skills put together the Game of Life board. You will need to put the spinner in the middle and make certain it spins correctly, and likewise add the mountains and bridge work to the assigned areas. Mix the Share the Wealth cards. You'll need to make certain these cards are in no certain sequence for each and every game. Pick out a banker. The banker is likewise one of the participants of the game and may be chosen either by naming or spinning the spinner. The individual who gets the highest number on the spinner may be the banker. Pick out a car for each participant. Each participant utilizes a car as his or her game piece, and they may pick out their preferred color. Add a peg in the driver's seat for each participant, bluish for males and pinkish for females. Put the homes around the board. These may be bought later when participants are ready to purchase their home. Deal out the Share the Wealth cards. The banker will deal out one card to each participant. The rest of the cards are laid face down in the assigned spot on the game board. Decide who will be the beginning participant. The beginning participant may be decided by spinning the spinner once again. The highest spin specifies who will move first. Let the beginning participant make their move. The beginning participant places their car at the starting point and moves according to the spin. Move the number of spaces and follow the instructions on the square. The following participant takes their turn. If they land on a space that is not vacant, they may move to the next space and abide by the instructions on the square. Carry on moving around the game board and abiding by the instructions. The participant with the most money at the end wins the game. You are able to play the Game of Life online against acquaintances too. Buy the Game of Life for the personal computer. If you're unsure if you'll enjoy it, you are able to always download the gratis 1-hour demo of the game. Install the game onto your personal computer. You'll need 296 MBs free on your computer to install it. Begin the game and select the network play choice. You are able to either join or host a game. If hosting a game, then you'll need to give your IP address to the other participants. Your IP address will be listed in the box adjacent to player 1. If you're linking up with a game, then you'll need the host's IP address. Start the game. Pick your car, avatar, and name. Then click on the wheel to spin. There are animations and 2 versions of the game to research. There's the master and the enhanced version that has more mini-games. Make your way around the game board performing mini-games and holding out through the ups and downs of the game. Chapter 7. Chess Synopsis. Among the most fantastic things about chess is that you are able to play as ambitious a game with an 8-year-old youngster as you will be able to with an 80-year-old golden ager. The basics, as a matter of fact, there have been youngsters in their teens that have accomplished the highest level of chess and been coronated grandmasters of the game. You are able to teach the youngsters you know a game that will bring them joy throughout their lives, as long as you have forbearance and an adept working knowledge of the game. Acquaint the youngster with the board. Prior to youngsters being able to learn to play the game, they must study the basic manner in which the board will be utilized, once the pieces have been put on it. The site ChessKids.com provides interactive tutorials for youngsters. Instruct the youngster in the names and jobs of the assorted parts in the game. Once youngsters are well aware of what the pieces are supposed to do and the way they are able to move, the game and its aim will make a great deal more sense to them. Teach the youngster a couple of introductory opening moves which frame up the entire game. Memorizing these early on may help youngsters to get a beneficial foundation in the game of chess. Have the youngster watch the games of knowledgeable players. Youngsters may improve their games by observing the strategies of other people and implementing what they've learned to their own games. Make certain that the child you're teaching is well rested. Chess is a game that calls for a good deal of concentration and can't be learned or played by a tired youngster. Choose the opportunity to teach the youngster good sportsmanship. The youngster will probably lose as much as he wins and ought to maintain a beneficial attitude, no matter the outcome. Chapter 8. Monopoly Synopsis. Hold in mind that the elemental goal is to have the most revenue and assets at the end of the game. Go for it all. Make certain that you have all the pieces. The box ought to hold a game board, 2 dice, play money, 32 houses, 12 hotels, 11 tokens, a batch each of chance and community chest cards, and a title deed card for every property. Place the board out with the chance and community chest cards face down on their assigned spaces. Pick out your preferred token. Put all of the participants' tokens on go. Pick out a player to be the banker. This individual attends to the money, buildings, and deed cards. Dole out the money. Each participant gets $2 500 bills, $2 100 bills, $2 50 bills, $6 20 bills, $5 10 bills, $5 5 bills, $5 1 bills for a total of $1. 500. Have each participant roll the dice to ascertain who goes first. The high roll wins, and play proceeds to the left. Roll the dice and proceed that many places. Purchase a property from the bank, if you want, when you land on it. If you choose not to purchase a property on your turn, the banker might auction it to the highest bidding participant. Bidding may begin at any price and anybody can bid on the property. Pay rent if you land on a place owned by another participant. He or she must remember to ask for it prior to the participant after you throwing the dice. Choose a card if you land on chance or community chest and abide by the directions. Hold on to the dice if you roll doubles when your turn is over. You can roll once more. However, go to jail if you roll doubles 3 times in a row. Pick up your salary of $200 from the bank every time you go past or land on go. Exit of jail by any of these techniques. Utilize a get out of jail free card. Pay a $50 fine before you roll the dice on either of your next 2 turns, or roll doubles on the dice on any of the 3 turns coming after your incarceration. You don't get to take another turns. But if you don't roll doubles by the 3rd turn, you have to pay a $50 fine. Win the game by grabbing all of the property on the board, wrecking the other participants, and taking more money and assets than anybody else. Here are a few ways to make the game Monopoly it a bit more fun for you and your youngsters. We all like to play with our youngsters and all remember Monopoly. But who has the time to really finish a real Monopoly game? Arrange the game as you commonly would, but put all property, utilities, and railroad cards in a paper bag. Pass the bag around and let each youngster pick 4 or 5 from the bag. Give them a gratty house with each property. Make them utilize their money they've been dealt to purchase the property. Have some music set up to turn on, and anytime a participant lands on visiting jail, free parking, go space, or jail, and everybody gets up and dances around the table. Then for youngsters that have a more difficult time with math, Let them enjoy utilizing the calculator when calculating the cost and change. And so forth, you likewise make one space be like a lottery space, and anytime a participant lands on space, they get $10 from each player or however much you decide, or a free turn. You can likewise make each player wear something silly for a few turns each time they pass go, like a half-baked wig, nose, and so forth. Chapter 9. Twister Synopsis. Twister is a classic game played in homes for decades. Families, acquaintances, and partygoers all have stories to tell involving intriguing mutations of the game. Whether you have lost the directions or you are trying to settle a conflict after Thanksgiving Day dinner, this will help you brush up on your Twister game. Twist it. Unfold the mat on a flat surface. It's better used inside, but if it is going to be utilized outdoors, unfold it on the grass and make certain there are no sticks, rocks, or additional hard objects underneath it. Weight down the corners with something to keep the wind from blowing it around. Take off your shoes. Everybody should be barefooted, either with socks on or off. Leaving your socks on lends a tricky challenge. Choose a spinner. This individual will spin the spinner and behave as referee to when two individuals reach for the same circle. Place yourselves on the mat. For a two-player game, adversaries face one another on polar ends of the mat lengthwise, and set 1 foot on the nearest yellow circle and 1 foot on the nearest blue. For a three-player game, participants align the same as a two-player game, but the third stands on the side lined with the red circles and sets each foot on the middle red circles. For a four-player game, arrange 2 teams of 2 players, each that will stand on polar ends of the mat, and put each foot on any colored circle nearest to them. Begin spinning. The referee makes the beginning spin, then calls out the color and body part that's to be moved. All participants must move at the same time, and they must go for a vacant circle. If 2 participants go for the same circle, the referee must choose who was there first. If all 6 circles are used up, the referee respins. If the body part shouted is already on the color that's called out, the player must move to another circle of that color. In a 4-player game, circles may be used up by more than 1 body part. Hold all hands and feet on the mat. The only time a participant might lift a hand or foot is to leave another participant's body part pass through. In this case, the participant must declare beforehand that they are lifting their hand or foot off the mat, and they must replace it as soon as the other participant has passed across. Failure to declare they are moving results in elimination. Get rid of any players who fall down. Touch the mat with any body part other than a hand or foot that's in play, or give up. Keep playing till only 1 participant is left. In a 4-player game, when a player falls or touches the mat, both team members are wiped out. Chapter 10. Candyland Synopsis. Candyland is a fun, easy board game for youngsters designed to help with color identification. Colors. This is a racing game in which those who play Candyland are sent off from one space to a different by drawing colored cards out of the deck. The fresh version has altered its rules to make it even more user-friendly, so participants are now presented the alternative of playing by classic or fresh rules. Either way, youngsters will memorize their colors and simple game play with Candyland. Pick out your playing piece, one of the colored tykes, and place him or her on the beginning space. Select who goes first. Some individuals like to choose using rock, paper, scissors, while other people like to utilize the deck to decide. Utilizing the deck requires picking out a color and announcing that whoever is the first to draw that color is the one who gets to go first of all. Draw a card once it's your turn. Move your piece to the first space that equals that color. This will always regulate how far you move. Be mindful of the special places on the board. For example, a lot of the colored spaces have dots on them. These points indicate that a participant is stuck on that place, till she is able to draw a different card equaling that color. Additional spaces are shortcuts that you are able to utilize to move to the space at the other end if you want. Move to the indicated building if you draw a card that equals a particular location. For example, if you draw Molasses Swamp, move your game piece immediately to Molasses Swamp. This may be a big move if you draw it at the start of the game. Be mindful, all the same, that the old rules let for you move frontward or backwards when drawing such cards, while the fresh rules don't permit moving back. Carry on playing till one participant makes it to the finishing line at the end of the board. This is executed by getting a card to a color that no longer exists on the board. As with the particular location movement, the older rules provide another variation. You're only able to win when you draw a card of the same color as the last square. Wrapping up board game nights are amusing to plan and anticipate. However, it's simple to pull out a game if your family seems bored or you want to switch off the television monster for a while. Keep a hoard of great board games for these occasions, and you're sure to discover a taker when you inquire, "Does anybody want to play a game?"